Well, I'm Adam.
And I'm James, and this has been
Welcome to
Think All About Us.
unThinkMe. Is
Think
what
All About
do
Us.
you have you not
This,
committed this to memory yet?
yeah, this is a Twitch server that we're running here. Where we stream McGruff Crime Dog here. Drugs and encephalopods. So it's come to this, has it?
Oh God, do we have Hat Adam back?
You
Hat
knew this day
Adam
would come.
taught McGruff everything he knows. This is Adam. This is not Adam's dad. Learn how to protect yourself.
James and Adam taking a bite out of dog food. Stay away from people who talk like us, kids. And if they tell you to listen to them about safety, you don't listen to them. Don't listen to people like me. We were talking about good boys, bad boys. What is that? We're talking about the shadow today. We're going to talk a little bit about the shadow. What is that? That's what we're talking about today. This is going to be like a loose, casual discussion on what do we mean when we say shadow. Okay.
Great question.
So you got an object, you got a light, consciousness, awareness. Everything that exists is light, consciousness, awareness,
And everything.
shines on a thing, and then the thing blocks stuff, and so there's a dark place behind the thing that doesn't have light on it, the shadow. So the things that aren't exposed to the light. So I think to make very simple, plain speech of it, it's the things that in an introverted sense you're hiding from yourself, and in an extroverted sense you're hiding from others.
Mm.
So we're an ego that we interact with others as personae. The persona is like a subdivision of the ego that hides certain things or doesn't embody or enact certain things or in the subconscious or the back of house. Meanwhile, we're projecting a certain thing that we think they're going to want or we think is the right thing to do. So we have this sort of projected persona, which creates shadow because whatever we're showing off hides the things that we're covering up. Here's our deal. Shadow means a lot of things, and I'd kind of break it in three bits. I would say the
Okay.
Jungian shadow. I would say the
Union?
new Carl Jungian, the
Oh, okay.
Union, and then and that's like a classical idea. It's not just Jung, but he's like a purveyor of it. He
Okay.
peddles this snake oil, and
Sure.
then that kind of got like it just kind of borrowed into New Age spirituality in general. So the word is just bandied about. It's like whatever darkness, sin is shadow. Sure,
Oh,
same general concept, just
oh my.
the fallenness, and then integral theory shadow, which is trying to be faithful to all the definitions, but trying to kind of solidify it into it's like a more systemic thing rather than a casual like, oh, shadow, darkness, negativity. But okay, what do we mean? What exactly do we mean? That's the integral theory approach. So I ask my good friend of mine's a robot. I say, what's the shadow in psychology? Concept developed by Carl Jung. It represents the unconscious and often hidden parts of our personality, including instincts, desires, and traits that we may find undesirable or incompatible with our self-image. Anything we may repress, deny, or feel ashamed of, such as anger, selfishness, or unresolved traumas.
It's like I questioned this
Hmm.
because the shadow's not a choice. So if I'm repressing things from shame or anger or doubt or whatever, that's a choice. Am I making any sense? I don't, if there is a light source, if we're talking about physical reality again, if there's a light source, the only way I can get rid of my shadow, kind of, is by introducing another light source at the same time. It's
Aha.
not optional. There is a shadow. I suppose physical things, if I were to have a lisp or a lazy eye, that'd be something that I might not like.
Currently, yeah,
We'll
you
talk about
don't
it
have
later
the
because
skill of
I'm
saying
trying
the
to.
S sound yet. But guys, I had a lisp until I was like 16, like a pretty hardcore lisp, and I was
You didn't even
taking a
know.
speech therapy, and yeah, I was unconscious of it. I didn't know. And so I wasn't ashamed of it or anything like that in the front of my mind. Maybe I was secretly, maybe I unconsciously was ashamed of it, so I didn't allow myself to hear my own voice and that I had a lisp. And it wasn't until somebody told me in like middle school or high school around 15 or something, someone was like, you do the best Butthead voice from Beavis and Butthead because you actually have a lisp. Like, what the
That
hell are you
may have
talking
been
about? I don't have a
incidentally
lisp. What
me.
are you talking? Yeah, it
But
was one
we,
of,
of
yeah.
all the things we made fun of at each other as little boys do, that wasn't one of them. You didn't get made fun of for it. It was just part of you, and we didn't pick on it. We could have, but we didn't. It wasn't
So
funny.
if you're looking for the cure for a lisp, as far as I know, and in my experience, the cure for a lisp is to make this sound.
Uh-huh.
And then put that sound in where your S goes.
Yeah, it's not that you're incapable of
Selfishness.
making that sound. You can make
Yeah,
that
you
sound.
have a habit of saying selfishness, selfish. The S sound sounds like this because this is how I learned S, and I never changed how I learned to say the S sound. That's
It
it.
wasn't. It
You just have to
wasn't.
sit there and
So
go,
to to your own
snakes.
credit, it wasn't that defined. But yes,
Yeah,
your the
it went
the
sideways a little
tongue
bit.
was a little
Yeah.
bit in the way of your crisp teeth
And
sound.
this is a great laboratory for like a specific form of shadow pertaining to like your audio and visual image, your self-presentation, is if you hate the way your voice sounds when you hear it back in a recording or the way you look in a picture, especially if it's not from the front like you'd see in the mirror, but like from the
Hmm.
side or the back,
Hmm.
you don't really see that stuff. And so
I'm
it can be
guilty.
kind of shocking, like, oh, I'm fat and ugly and dumb looking
Yeah,
because
that's right. That's
you're
exactly right.
ashamed of it and you don't want to admit it. And okay, well, now I have to see it.
I do feel that way about my photographs. I have a painting upstairs of my 14th great grandfather. People are like, oh, you look just like him. That's true. But everything that I can see in myself in this guy are things I don't like about the way I look. And I was put a bit at ease kind of recently, within the last months, when I see a picture of myself, like, oh, yeah, I don't really like my profile. Everyone sees that all day, every day, and no one has said a word about it. So maybe they're thinking it like, oh, that guy looks like a fucking hillbilly fuck. But no one says it. So who cares?
Isn't that funny? Just like in your head, James is attractive or unattractive.
Hmm.
That's meaningless. That means nothing.
Right.
Like some people think you are, some people don't. Some people think you look weird. Some people think you look like their dad. Some people think you look like they look. Like yeah.
I was in Newark, and there is an employee that speaks very little English, and I got to the office, and he's like, "Oh, James, no good." Like, wait, what? Yeah, James is no good. Why? It's the face. It sucks.
He's a boof.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Well, I love you too. And then that was
The
that.
face.
Yeah, if I were a super self-conscious person, that would bother me forever. I think it's hilarious. I've talked to this guy for a year and a half, and this is the first time he's told me my face sucks. So now every time I walk by him, I go,
There it is.
just make sure that it actually sucks.
I'm
Yeah.
fucking.
Shadow, physical,
In
mental.
terms of physical presentation, the actual fact of the matter is simply I look like this. I am this attractive. I am this presentable.
Mm.
And that is, and whether that's good, bad, high, low is relative to the frame of reference. So looking at like I want to take one example in just what we've described so far in psychology, Jungian, anger. This is one us Americans, we don't I'm not an angry person. I don't get mad, I don't get bent out of shape. I'm cool. That's our self-image. That's what we present. So I'm not an angry person. So these negative feelings I'm having aren't that I'm mad at you. They're that everyone's a jerk. That people are kind of persecuting me. They're kind of like, oh, what the hell is wrong with people? Why is everyone so mad? Like what? I'm a cool person. I'm just trying to be cool, but everyone's mad. Why do I feel this way? Why am I saying this? Why am I? This is the narrative going in my head. It's because I'm mad, and I don't admit it to myself because I'm not an angry person in my self-conception. Everybody in the world is an angry person. The human condition has anger in it.
That's
So
yeah. That's
you
I'm
are a
red all
sad
over.
person. You're a funny person. You're a serious person. You're a boring person. Everything. Every kind of Alanis Morissette will tell you this. Every adjective is you. Is everyone.
Hmm.
So this is like demystifying the shadow. Like yeah, Adam's kind of a clumsy. He's kind of a dipshit. He fucks things up a lot. It doesn't matter whether that's true or not. It's a shadow thing. I'm worried about that. People are worried about that. so it becomes real. But everyone makes mistakes. Everyone in the world makes mistakes. It's just whether you latch onto that and identify with it and say, oh, I'm a person who makes a lot of mistakes. Uh-oh. Or you go, oh, yeah, I make mistakes here and there, but I got everything. I'm good. It's entirely qualitative. It's entirely your own attitude and your own emotional.
I didn't want to cut in, but you were saying anger, sadness, all those things. Those are coping mechanisms for your feeling some kind of something. So, he's the funny guy. He's the saddest guy in the room, but that he gets through social situations by being funny. Or he's actually a pretty happy guy. He just does not know how to show it, and so he just like is angry all the time.
Almost always some degree of subconsciousness. I'm being sad person. Why am I telling everybody I'm sad person? Why am I being lame sad guy? Probably I want people to come help me and console me, and I'm asking for somebody to just give me a break or just see me. It's probably why I'm being sad person. Why am I not being sad person? Why is sad person shadow? Because that's weak, that's pathetic, I'm in everyone's way. I should just get the sad guy out of here. We need tough people around here.
Our switch, sad guy, angry guy, all these labeled shadow things so far, they bring the switch down for others.
Yep.
Now you're
like
starting
the
to
cream
affect
in
me.
the coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, happy guy, funny guy, they bring everybody else up a bit. So a room, if you number 1 to 10, beneficial to least beneficial for whatever. If we're going to a comedy club and someone is angry all the time, not very beneficial to the situation. That sort of thing. So 1 to 10, you can only go one step up or down from the most what's the word, influential person there. So if the most influential person there, which is usually an extrovert, is at a 5, the best this group could do is a 6.
Yeah.
I'm the most influential person in a group, and I'm at a 6. We have an 8 and we have a 10 in the group, but they don't have influence, and so
Blotted out.
they are brought down. And the best I can do at my 6 is bring a 4 or a 5 up 1. That's it.
Yeah,
So we don't want
you're
the
looking
sad
at
guy.
it in
We
a
don't
very
want the angry guy.
extroverted way. Yeah.
Yeah. Tribal or group, whatever. Yeah.
And we had brought that up just a little bit, and you had mentioned light sources for shadow, right? Introvert and extrovert are two primary light sources. So I might be perfectly confident and accepting of myself in myself, but then when I go to listen to other people, maybe I have to block that out. Maybe my shadow is I don't let other people tell me what I am or how I am.
Okay.
So that's the introverted kind of shadowing. The extroverted might be, I let everybody tell me who I am. I let everybody dictate me. I'm lost in relationships. And my shadow, my fear is that I don't actually know who I am and what I am and what I like and what I want.
Yeah. You've become a social martyr.
Shadow. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything at the expense of me.
When we talk about the entire personality as introverted or extroverted, I think we understand that pretty well. Like I'm charged up by being alone or being together. And when we're talking about cognitive functions, I think I get this wrong a little bit. And I think a better way to understand it is with a cognitive function, thinking, feeling, sensing, intuiting, it's more like letting other information sources, other people's source into you. So for example, it's not very extroverted if I control a social situation and talk about myself and my life and my perspective. That isn't extroversion. Because it's me, it's my stuff, I'm broadcasting to everybody, and I'm not being extroverted because I'm not listening to anyone else. I'm not caring what they think or what their story is. I think that's the cognitive function form of introversion and extroversion, which is kind of counterintuitive. Because the motor mouth is actually an introvert in this case, unless they're all talking about you, unless they're focused on your world and your conceptions. Kind of interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I never considered it that way, but it makes sense.
And we'll probably get into that idea of shadow with the cognitive functions, because that's kind of the core Myers-Briggs Jungian world of shadow is like its own little cubby. So Jung believed that integrating the shadow is essential for personal growth and self-awareness. Ignored, the shadow can manifest in unconscious behaviors, projections onto others, or cause conflicts. If acknowledged and accepted, it can lead to greater self-understanding and wholeness. The shadow is not inherently bad, just those aspects we avoid or are unaware of. By exploring and embracing it, we become more integrated individuals, balancing light and dark elements within ourselves. So the archetype of the self, the true self, capital S, we reach that by integrating shadow with persona into a whole person. So that's kind of the base Jungian. Can you hear this dog barking?
Call on me.
Maybe it's you can't.
Just call on me.
Oh, I'm not. I actually I'm looking at GPT and it's helpful because it's keeping my eyes on the website. James, could you
okay,
please
God.
go to the bathroom? Please just go now in your pants.
Will you? Did you want to come over to my house later and euthanize my dog?
3 questions for guest speaker. What would you do if the world were being devoured by flesh-eating mollusks? What was 2? What the hell was 2?
Have you ever laminated a gerbil?
That's right. Have you ever laminated a gerbil? These are my questions for the guest speaker. And then do you want to come to my house after school and put my dog to sleep?
Adam found a package, a pile of paper in his moves, pile of papers from like middle school, elementary, and high school. Come up with 3 questions for guest speaker. What Adam didn't write on there is who the guest speaker is,
nothing,
or what date in the world this was. But those were the 3 questions he came up with.
And I think it really applies to pretty much anything. If you're at a Q&A, if you're on our live stream.
Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead, James. How long does it take before the brain liquefies?
Oh, my baloney has a 3rd name, and I will never tell.
I'll Never Tell by Adam Lowen.
If you fucking ask, I'll kill you and your whole family, and then I'll make another Star Wars movie.
So, not to say who, but I think you know him.
He's just a little guy with brittle bones. We've said what the shadow is in a normal. I'm just a human speaking English to another human. That's the shadow. Repressed, hidden, don't want to show it. Then we get into the Jungian shadow in terms of cognitive functions specifically. So Jung uses the shadow even in a couple of ways. And with the cognitive functions, intuiting, thinking, sensing, feeling, the shadow would be the one that you prefer the least. If I'm an INTJ, then my dominant is intuition, and thus the shadow of that is the one that's the opposite of at the bottom of it. So it'd be sensing, and because intuiting is introverted, the sensing would be extroverted. So in that case, my shadow function would be extroverted sensing. I don't want to share what I know about my sensing environment, nor do I want to comprehend what you know about this environment and the nuts and bolts currencies of what's going on right now. So I'm really uncomfortable with that, and so I think that's probably true. So let's look at what the GPT summarizes for that. In terms of the Jungian cognitive functions, the shadow refers to the less developed and often unconscious functions within an individual's personality type. According to Carl Jung's theory and its modern adaptations in typologies such as Myers-Briggs, watch the Myers-Briggs video for a treatment of that topic. Each person has a dominant cognitive function along with 3 other primary functions that shape their conscious personality. Mm-hmm. These are generally referred to as the primary functions. The shadow functions are the 4 cognitive functions that are opposite to an individual's main functions and lie outside of their conscious preference. Okay, so I've seen this a couple times. So like what that's saying is that INTJ, if I'm introverted intuition forward, that's my dominant, then a shadow would be extroverted intuition. So I've seen that both. So all of the ones that aren't in your type are all shadow. That's a way I've seen it put. I've also seen it put that the inferior function, the 4th most used one, is your shadow. So not sure what to make of that. I've seen both. These shadow functions often come into play in stressful situations or when the dominant functions are overwhelmed or suppressed. They can manifest as insecurities, negative behaviors, or unexpected reactions. And I guess I can see that kind of shadow function too with extroverted intuition. If I'm a person who introverts intuition, I like coming up with stuff at you, and I assume that you enjoy my creativity and my self-sharing. that's always going to be in competition with somebody else sharing their stuff. So we're fighting, it's a competitive, who's louder shouting match. So that would bother me. That makes sense. That's shadow. I don't want to extrovert intuition because I do want to introvert intuition. Introverted sensing is big with you, and some sort of intuition's big. I'm not sure which one. Probably extroverted feeling. You don't mind taking in other people's kind of emotional reality.
Mm-hmm.
So what would what's the James's shadow? What's the James shadow? What is like James hate doing?
Following through on
Maybe
things.
introverted feeling, like you don't want to share your emotional reality, and it's irrelevant. It does. What does it help? Maybe if I had to
Maybe.
pick one of those eight, like you like to think, you like to hear thinking, you like to come up with stuff. You like when other people come up with stuff. So I think it's more in the sensing and feel. Well, I think you like to sense and you like to get sensing. So I mean that's pretty balanced too. So I think it's the feeling one where I'm kind of like, is there shadow in feeling? And it doesn't seem to be extroverted. You seem to take things in pretty easily, pretty naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just the giving out of your feeling world, your judge. Oh, it's feeling is a lot to do with moral judgments, value judgments. So you hate judging people morally. You hate saying like that person sucks because like they never learned that. You're like, well, they're
That's
respectable
true.
person. That's why
The
maybe
the
it's that.
the hardest to hear feedback I've ever gotten, but it was hard to hear
Here
because
we
it's
go.
100% true. One of my superiors at work said, "You let people, you give love to people before they've earned it, and never expect them to give it back, and that's a problem."
Love being accepting and listening and hearing and
Hmm.
helping.
Yep, and
So it
then
might,
not
yeah,
expecting or demanding that back. I
right. So
think
that would
I
make
think
sense. You're
higher of people than they do of themselves.
in functions. This sounds like you're good at extroverting feeling and not good at introverting. You're having trouble getting out there your disapproval of the value of things, and you really are kind of easygoing about the maybe. This is kind of what I'm thinking is that seems to be the really positive James, and the really negative James might be to do with introverting and extroverting feeling.
Mm.
So this is kind of how you can use shadow in cognitive functions, Myers-Briggs kind of stuff. And like I said, it's both the inferior function is sometimes the shadow, and all the functions that aren't included in your type can be shadow. Unclear which is the real fact. And then GPT uses the INFJ personality type, and it says the primary functions would be introverted intuition, extroverted feeling, introverted thinking, and extroverted sensing. So those are your profile. That's your Myers-Briggs type, primary functions. And then it's saying shadow functions would thus consist of extroverted intuition, introverted feeling, extroverted thinking, and introverted sensing. So just reversing the introversion or extroversion, those are shadow functions. Fascinating. Because the introverted and the extroverted it's either one or the other, so they're in competition with each other, so you prefer one. You can't prefer both necessarily. Like, that's a pretty advanced coordination to really have those balanced. Now it gets a little deeper into the nuts and bolts of shadow functions. We can skip that, but that goes deeper with opposing functions, critical parent functions, trickster functions, and demon function. Those are fun. Okay.
Mm.
But we're lightning rounding here. We're just defining our terms here. So what is a shadow in terms of integral theory? A shadow refers to the aspects of our psyche that are unconscious, repressed, or disowned parts of ourselves. So same definition, but we now have the integral model to actually define what we mean by those notions.
Mm-hmm.
Wilber's approach to the shadow builds on the ideas of Jung, but expands them into the broader framework of his integral model. So that's what I just said.
Good job, Ken.
So repressed aspects of the self, so it's giving a pretty standard, just neuroses. And then integration, same as Jung, projection of the shadow, okay. 3-2-1 process for shadow work. This is an integral concept where you start with understanding it in the third person, and then you bring it to the second person, and then you bring it to the first person, so that you're owning shadow more and more. So
Ooh.
Third person, that person is so aggressive. Second person, why are you so aggressive? First person, I am feeling aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's harder to own your feelings in the first person. I'm upset because this happened, versus like, there's a feeling of something's kind of wrong. That's like easier for me to say,
Right.
in the third person. And then I think where it gets really integral is in each of these 5 modules, quadrants, levels, lines, types, and states, shadow is whatever one you're not focused on. So if I'm really into the lower left quadrant, the feeling area, then I'm probably not as into the other 3. So those are more shadow. If we're talking about levels, if I'm at amber meme level, then the levels beneath me and the levels above me are a form of shadow. I don't like them. I don't want them. I don't want to show them. I don't want to get them. Whatever level I'm at, every other level is shadow.
Right.
So same with types and lines. If I have a preferred line, there's a weaker line. I'm really big on stamina and really low on endurance. Are those the same thing?
I think those are the same thing.
Not in every video game. Not in every video game. Most games. Pack weight versus running speed. So in integral theory, the shadow is a critical part of self-understanding and self-development. So I think it's just kind of locking and loading the Jungian concept, really. What is the shadow in New Age spirituality? So this is spaghetti bowl style. This is like the most complicated. So the shadow refers to hidden, suppressed, or repressed aspects of the self that are often seen as negative or unlovable. Same thing. Deep, darker parts of the psyche that we avoid confronting because they conflict with our idealized self-image. Yeah. Embracing the shadow for wholeness. That's same with integral. Spiritual bypassing. One of the key criticisms within New Age spirituality is the tendency towards spiritual bypassing, where individuals use spirituality to avoid dealing with their shadow or uncomfortable emotions. Practices like meditation, positive affirmations, or focusing only on higher vibrations can sometimes lead to people to neglect deeper inner work. Confronting the shadow instead of bypassing it is viewed as a way to heal underlying wounds. Boom. Incredibly important concept, and this is where we're talking about the pyramid with the shaky foundation. A lot of us coming to spirituality, we're coming there from grief and loss, we're coming there from codependency and really toxic patterns, and we're going, oh my God, what's the opposite of this? What is healthy? What does healthy mean? What is mature? And in our eagerness to get there, we might neglect just the commonplace answers, the simple answers, the basic, your sleep, diet, and exercise. Having people like you and participating in a meaningful community. Just really basic stuff. But if you don't have that, then your spiritual realization might be useless to civilization. Even if it sets you free, you're this bum out in the woods that nobody wants. So that's cool that is in the New Age section. Spiritual bypassing. What a crazy idea. We've all seen it though. People who are obsessed with New Age, self-help, spirituality, meditation, and they're not even functional normally. That's a problem.
Perceivably functional. They're
According
happy.
to the status quo. Sure.
Right.
With a grain of salt. Okay, projections and triggers. In integral, the idea of allergy and fixation is big in the shadow cleaning up work. The idea that you affix to certain things as a fixation, a certain level, a certain type, a certain state. And then you have allergies. I just hate amber meme, or I just hate INTJs, or I just hate people who are only into appearance, looks, polish. I hate that. Shadow. Healing modalities. Yeah, okay, so that's the New Age view. So they're all really similar. They all have their own form of nuts and bolts and special vocabulary. But it does seem like we're talking about the things that are real about ourselves that we don't want to admit or show. Supposedly, transformation will come about by integrating and re-owning those things, projecting them more, but in a more coordinated way, in a more holistic, so that shadow function just becomes my weird, gimpy arm that I use to do great things, instead of this thing I'm always running from and hiding from that when I fall asleep, it tries to strangle me. The evil got into my hand and it went bad, so I lopped it off at the wrist. This is a loaded gun. Shadow could be, a seventh of the channel. In integral theory, shadow is a huge concept. Cleaning up is right alongside growing up and waking up and showing up. Those fundamental notions of what health and maturity and development mean to us. So we want to explore Shadow Adam, Shadow James, Shadow unThinkMe, Shadow you, the audience, shadow everything. We want to know that, and we want to know what we look like to others in a holistic sense, instead of a projected ideal that you can't live up to, that you're ashamed of, that hurts.
It's a bunch of symptoms that we'll experience in life. And until we start to recognize our shadow things, they'll just be symptoms. Like Adam said, diet, sleep, exercise. Mentally, those things exist as well. Have you asked yourself hard questions that maybe you don't want to know the answer to, but only you can give the answer to? What is my shadow? How do I show up and do work on it? Until you start looking, you have no idea. And there's just, I don't know, whenever I'm in so and so situation, XYZ situation, I just kind of always feel awkward. And I don't know why. There's some shadow in there that you just haven't paid attention to. I'm not the one to help you tap in and find out what that is. But I am the one to say that it's really something that it is there. Have you been honest and open enough with yourself to find out what those are?
And as we become less defensive and as we open our minds to seeing ourselves more clearly, we find that data is right there in front of you. Everybody's always trying to tell you what's wrong with you. Always little hints. They're always trying to tell you what your shadow is. And the point is, it's not a great mystery. It's just that somebody says I'm selfish. No, I'm not. What are they talking? They don't know anything. They don't know me. But that person thinks I'm selfish, and that is true. That just people do think, if someone thinks something about you, it is a thing about you that people think. And if I'm sitting here trying to rationalize or explain away their perspective, that's my shadow. That's me not accepting the fact of the matter that everyone thinks you're a donkey. Get yourself
could
a saddle.
be. I mean, everyone on Earth sees everyone on Earth in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, James seems always happy, seems always to have it together. But then there are a few people on Earth who have seen me in different situations. Like, oh yeah, James, he's an asshole, and his face sucks. Adam, going through this stack that we mentioned before of things he found and writings he found, found a trusted ally, a very good friend who has no reason to be hurtful for no reason.
Played by a young Leonardo DiCaprio. This is an actor playing this human being in my real life.
Yeah, if he shows up in a dream, it's either
Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
oh yeah, no, that's the shadow incarnate.
Yeah, in his dreams. Anyway, he found a thing where someone gave an analysis of Adam to Adam, pros and cons. And am I outing you? Did you want to go over this at all?
If we have time, this is the good list and the bad list. Dick Frogger.
More than 10 minutes.
And I wanted, because we've talked a little bit about familiars too. This is a particular familiar that was originally a catnip toy. So this, if you notice this bear, I cannot do anything that will make this bear happy because it's uncomfortable in its physical existence. It's unfortunately, it's not, he's not well. So this bear is always unhappy. I cannot fix this. A part of Adam is always unhappy. Sad Adam. Cannot fix it. Just get him in a little cuddle, friend. He's okay. He's fine. He's got his whole crew here. But there's a part of you that's damaged forever, and it'll always be there, and it's not actually caused by anything. It's just that your brain can do this thing where it says, I'm a damaged thing. This is who I am. I'm sad. I'm the sad bear.
Damaged or not, accepted. And damaged or not, God damn it, it's still a bear.
He's a good guy. It's like, I was like, should I get rid of it? It's like, the hell kind of, what are you, ethnic cleansing your stuffed animals?
Monster.
Yeah.
Got resting bear face.
He's a lovely guy. And he completes us. Like we're not a bunch of false positivity people. There's a shadow here. We're good guy, good bear. It's all relative. Whatever, the ugly, the beautiful, they exist at the same time. Tom Cruise is a very ugly, stupid guy. He's also a brilliant, handsome genius. It doesn't matter. It's just perspectives. Our little friends had a psychologist in the family, and perhaps they were put up to this activity. Adam,
100. We know 100%. His mom put him up to this.
Well, I don't know if we need the good list because we're talking shadow today. Well, let's just do the Dick Frogger list.
Let's do every other. Let's
And
sprinkle
then
it
it
in. You
says
can't have sweet without the sour.
atom, bad, Dick Frogger, haha, F you. I think there's 5 bullet points. Absolute overuse of self-made principles.
Oh, I see.
Absolute overuse of self-made
See,
principles.
you see what's happened here is you've already started to belittle the person that did this for you. Who gives a shit if it's spelled wrong? We're 12.
Hey, that's his shadow self. That's not my problem. If you got bad spelling, you don't want anybody to know. No,
I
yeah,
have
we are.
horrible spelling.
No. Yeah. So again, is having being a principled, self-made principal person is a very negative thing, a horrible thing
So
that I
you
can't
hold
stand
on,
about
hold on.
you.
Pause. You went so quick into cutting this person down who wrote this in their misspelling that I completely missed what they said.
If they
What
come
did
on the
say?
show, I'll be more nice to them.
Okay. What did they say?
Absolute overuse of self-made principles.
The words make sense. What do you feel that's saying? Just let's define that really quick so I know what you're talking about.
That at the time I was reading like Ayn Rand and I had all these kind of like rules for life and I had a personal code, which
Okay.
if I were looking at a kid and I saw it, I'd be like, that's an awesome trait about that person.
Uh-huh.
But it makes it so that Adam doesn't really like interact with normal expectations, like celebrating
Yeah.
birthdays,
I
for
remember that.
example. That's a self-made principle. I don't buy into birthdays. That kind of came a little later, but absolute overuse, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe I should chill out. That's a very shadow thing. Like, sure, you're not wrong, Walter. Just chill out a little.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense.
Okay.
So go on.
I wonder if these all begin with the word absolute. Absolutely unable to tend to others' emotional, psychological, and material needs. Unable to tend to others' emotional, psychological, and material needs. This is a philosophical issue.
I could
I don't
see
think
that.
I'm unable. I think I choose. I think
Yeah.
it's me being nice to you in my overuse of self-made principles to not tend to say I'll be here and you'll get a better emotionally. I'll support you and I will not pay for anything, nor will you, because we both need money. So we're going to help each other by not wasting our money on gifts for one another. We're going to both take care of ourselves and won't need care from others.
So
This is Rand. This is Ayn Rand shit.
yeah, this person would open. Well, I was about to say no, but I'm changing completely. Did open up, held his heart out, and said either help it or stab it often. And
This is a generous person and a
yes.
vulnerable person.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
they were beaten senseless.
Physically and mentally and emotionally all the time.
And
then,
materially.
yeah, he never had any money, even though he made more money than all of us, which didn't
He was
make a lot of
generous
sense.
with the money that he made.
Oh, yeah, that was it. He'd get paid and it was gone. Very early in high school, we both had jobs. So we're the highest income people of our friend group. Our paychecks are like $300 every 2 weeks. Who cares? It's almost nothing. And so we went to KFC together, and typically we had both just gotten paid. Like the Fridays lined up. Typically, when we would go out with our friends, somebody would be fronting somebody some money with like a dollar limit or writing down what they're borrowing, whatever. But
Not today,
this
my
time,
good man.
yeah, we had basically like Bill Gates and Elon Musk money. If those two went to hang out,
$200.
yeah, we had a couple $100 between us. And so like, imagine two super rich people hanging out. You do the dumb shit. So we went to KFC, pulled up to the drive-thru and said, we'll take one of everything, please. And the slightly older high school girl working there is like, are you serious? Yes, 100%. Yeah, deadly serious. Had us pull off to the side. It was something less than $300, but we ate like 10% of it. It was just funny to throw money around like that. And I do to this day still have that problem. I'm not trying to show out so much. I just want to have said, I want to have lived experience where I can say, yeah, I've said I'll have one of everything before. Yeah, I did do what fill in the blank that costs stupid amounts of money. Not so much to show out. It's just I have it, and I want to be able to say I did.
You're a fondue fountain guy. You when you party, you party. You throw the
Oh, yeah.
cash down. You get the big fireworks. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the illegal
Yeah,
ones.
you'd go and
So
get you'd go and order like fucking 3 pizzas for you and me. I'm like, what? How does this? What was even you? Were you thinking? Like,
yeah, and then
I'm gonna be sad about this pizza.
people got used to it. You've like come to depend on it, and then I felt bad.
Expectations create shadow.
Yeah,
Interesting. Patterns of being generous result in people expecting
yeah,
you to be
paycheck just
generous.
wasn't what it was, and I mean, economics went up, everything. Nonetheless, so this person that wrote this list for Adam was vulnerable and generous,
Yes.
but also always perpetually broke. And so
Yeah.
he still wanted to be part of the group, and we definitely wanted him to come with us, knowing full well that someone's going to have to buy his cheese sticks at Denny's, or someone's going to have to pay his admission to the movie, even though he makes more than all of us. And so, Adam, this may or may not have happened before. It must have happened before. On a birthday of his, he gave him a birthday card, which was a little out of the usual. I think
Yep.
maybe this was after, and Adam was trying to
Because
recognize,
he had complained about it.
yeah, his birthday was important to him. So that he said, "Happy birthday to patient X. For a birthday gift, I'm knocking $100 off your debt. You now only owe me $550."
Hey, I charge
That's
him interest and everything. I make lemonade with this shit. He's bad with his money, so I'm gonna hang out. We're gonna enjoy things together, and I'll profit off of it.
you in Capital One started out the same way, and it was preying on people who can't
And
finance
again,
properly.
is that shadow or is that the ideal self? Like it's just clever. It's actually sensing, which I suck at. And everybody said, don't be a shrewd person. That's you're okay. Well, then you start making shadow there.
Mhm.
Has the insane ability to apply his own fucked up ideas to real world logic, which makes it
Oh yeah,
impossible to argue anything with him.
yes,
His own fucked up ideas to real world logic.
I agree 100% from the perspective of this person.
Yeah, it's all like you kind of see the shadow there. You see the codependency in both of us, in him and I, kind of coming out here, where everything that's wrong with me is actually an inadequacy that this person is kind of making me responsible for creating.
Your advantage was his disadvantage. Your speech and debate skills were better than his because
Yeah, I was Ben Shapiro to him. Yeah.
because you were extroverted. You made points, very poignant points, and you were able to talk people into a corner. And that's a skill. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah. You're not a fan
that's
of
a
my metaphysics. Yeah. Well,
that's
where'd you get that
marketable
hat,
skill.
buddy? Did you get that hat at the toilet store? Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's a pretty lame hat, isn't it? Yeah, but anyway, metaphysics. If you know anything about metaphysics,
Exactly.
so from the Adam Lowen perspective, here's the crux of it. I believe that everyone in the world has the insane ability to apply their own fucked up ideas to real world logic, which makes it impossible to argue anything with them. That's my criticism of this world and its inhabitants.
We've all, maybe not an argument, but a deep discussion with someone that is so firmly planted their feet in cement and are just
Yeah,
not going to change their mind.
yeah.
I don't remember you ever trying to change this guy's mind, but he was often trying to explore ideas and expand upon what he believed in certain things. But he brought it to a situation as a prove me wrong type situation.
Right, right.
He had two groups of friends, the ones he hung out with all the time, and then a couple that he hung out like once a year or once every 2 years. They would go and have philosophical discussions where no one was right, no one was wrong for like 2 or 3 days, and then part ways for a year. We had to put up with each other's asses every single day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so we're not as open to what do you think is hiding behind the moon? Well, fucking nothing. Nothing's behind the moon. It's more space. Well, I think there's something back there. You're a fucking idiot. Holding to your constitution. I can't impose anything else on you. Well, that's true because you've brought up something that I didn't believe in the first place. Although he is right, I do have to disagree a little bit because he was really bad at getting his point across.
Where we've grown up a little bit and we can see ourselves more objectively, I don't think of these points in terms of my relationship with this person, and I just look at like, is this true of me? They're all totally true. This is totally
yes.
useful. This is correct, other than those little things that are only to do with the specifics of our relationship.
It
But
comes
this is
from
a
a
really good map
perspective.
of
Yes.
what people think the problem is when they interact with me. Really
This
good.
guy
Requires
isn't
maturity.
I still love this person. I haven't talked to him in probably
Yeah,
20 years, but
absolutely. Beautiful
if he
person.
came to me, I would open my arms as if we had never left each other's side.
Yeah.
However,
I'll never.
he is not a unique snowflake. He is a person on Earth, and there's really only 100 different types of people on Earth. That's very basic and what a crude thing.
We
But
need to see
if
this
he,
typology, by the way.
yeah, if he wrote this down, there's a good portion of the world that's going to feel the same way. So yeah, great roadmap.
All right. Tells other people exactly how he thinks they feel, i.e., you don't like that chick. Yeah, I think that's something that I've grown. I think that is just straight up bad behavior. I don't justify that. I do tell people what they think. As these days, I put a question mark on it. I'm like, so you're saying, that instead of just being like, I do catch myself doing it though. Sometimes I will just straight up put words in people's mouth because I think that I've anticipated correctly, and I'm pretty sure I do. But yeah, I will definitely put motives and words into people's mouth.
I don't remember you doing that to me, but it might be because I give love without expecting anything back. And when you said it, I just took it as truth. And so it didn't, didn't put up any red
You
flags.
never did that. You don't like that chick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Well, so with this guy, I can think of like two specific situations where he was completely infatuated with someone, and they did not like him. They don't know who you are, or they don't like you, and so it may have been a preservation. No. Don't worry, dude. You're not that into her.
Yeah.
Because she told me directly that she fucking hates you and wish you stopped talking to her.
Okay, maybe that was like a setup. All right, I got two more.
Well, we'll talk in the break. I'll give you names, and then you'll be
Okay.
like, "Oh yeah, I remember that."
Insensitive to others' feelings. Yeah, I mean, we're teenagers.
We're 12.
We were all extremely insensitive to one
He
another's
so
feelings.
I
Felt
will say
righteous.
this because we're tearing him. We're not, I hope we're not tearing him down.
We're trying to tear me down. Yeah.
Yeah, he was very having psychology in his family, very emotionally open and vulnerable, but also mature for our age.
Yeah, sensitive, intelligent, mature, definitely.
Yeah, he was leagues above us. We didn't admit it.
In
We didn't
ways,
notice it at the
yeah.
time. We just thought he was kind of a weird guy. But yeah, looking back on it, he's where some of us hope to be as an adult.
A little I mean, definitely uneven, but certain things about him, yeah, were really ahead of the curve. Yeah,
Mhm.
and probably still are.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, and that's the thing, insensitive to others' feelings. I have suffered so much for that that it's like, yeah, that's true. Like I assume, everyone takes care of themselves, and if they want something, they let you know, and if they need something, they let you know. So I don't like probe into people's emotions, but I think you really need to. You you have to take ownership.
This person and a lot of people don't follow what's in the accountability dial. They don't do a mention and then in an invitation, conversation, boundary, and limit. He would bottle it up, and now we're at the boundary, and then he'd tell you, like, I really don't like it when we do this. We've done
These
it like
were really intense, hot conversations.
Yeah, we've done this like 500 times. Why didn't you say anything before? Well, I thought you were picking up on it.
Yeah.
I'm 12.
All right, and finally, is completely oblivious to the fact that people don't like these things and that they stop people from behaving in certain ways when they are around him. There's that thing where, you're the anti-nihilist, right? When you enter, the effect you have when you enter a room, you'll never know what the room was like before you got there and how you changed it. I mean, you could do some experiments to figure that out, I suppose.
Yeah, there would be studies, but in my daily
illegal
life,
photography involved, yeah.
everything is happening until I get there. Then it's like, oh yeah, here we go.
I
Life is
do I
happening.
do worry about that. I do feel like I'm a little bit of I don't think I'm a storm cloud, but I think that people draw in a little bit when I come into the room. There's just a sort of like I think people clam up a little bit unless I actually go to
Well,
the effort of making them feel comfortable.
you are in today, not even talking about 12, even though it was true then. You're physically larger than most people. What are
Yeah.
you, like 6'5", 6'4", something like that?
6'4", yeah.
You're
Loud.
uh
I have the low end voice.
assertive. Yeah,
Yeah.
not aggressive, but you do definitely command space. And this person was always below average height and spoke very softly.
I'm pretty
And
little,
so,
kind of
yeah, it can be
effeminate. Yeah.
railroaded by almost anyone. And so, yeah, I definitely, my heart breaks a little bit for this list because we were dicks to him intentionally sometimes because it was so easy and because he would bottle it in and he'd never fight back. I love this person and I feel for this list. Real quick, lightning round, the good list. What is there, like one thing on it, two things?
No, no, no. This is equally big. The ability to be open about things instead of being stupid and suppressing them when he's not doing anything on the bad list. Has the
Okay, well,
ability to
so jealousy.
appreciate has the ability to appreciate deeply intellectual humor that passes over 99% of the population. That
We
was
were
again
always
you're
kind of like
saying
that.
he
Yeah.
was kind of yeah.
Our
Amongst
whole group was, a little higher, but he was of us the highest. Yep.
has the ability to amongst the many fucked up ideas emerges a higher understanding of life and other existential concepts.
Great.
Has incredible commitment and unsurpassed applied effort. Look at this vocabulary.
I am jealous of that. Still to this day.
Has the ability to make any boring, mundane, and dull thing the most funny thing in the entire world funny enough to make me laugh hard enough to blow milk from my nose and make my lungs hurt. That's how
Even
I
though
always felt about
he
you.
was
I
never
always thought
drinking
you were
milk.
that way. Oh golly, well, we got 15 seconds. I guess that's it. The security
An
of
outro.
knowing that in an extreme life or death situation, everything on the bad list is completely reversed. Oops, I crapped my pants. Thank you for watching. We've been on Think Me. This is The Shadow.
Love you. Bye.
Hello.